Okay, it is 9 a.m., so I'm going to get started with this conversation and the whole careers day or careers ed day for our Discord channel. Thank you, everyone who joined us today, from our panelists for agreeing to donate your expertise and Sunday morning or afternoon, wherever you're located. We have two panelists from Europe and then two in North America. So thank you so much for agreeing, and to our audience, thanks for participating. Before I start asking my questions, just so all of the audience members know, so this conversation is currently being recorded. So if you have to duck out for whatever reason, or if you miss a part of the conversation, stay tuned. I'll be publishing all of these conversations throughout the day on our blog as well as on our YouTube's notes channel, which I'll post here as well. And if you have any questions that you'd like to ask our panelists, just raise your hand. If you look at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a few different icons, including a hand with a notes image. So if you hit that, then I'll know that you have a question. Then I can bring you to the audience when I'm going to ask a few questions first, but then I can bring you up to the stage to ask your questions yourself. Alternatively, I understand not everyone's comfortable coming to the stage. So, alternatively, if you want to ask your questions in text, you can ask it in the webinar chat text channel, and then I'll ask our panelists the questions. But just to kickstart this conversation, would each of our panelists mind introducing themselves? Who are you and what do you do? Mojan, would you like to go first?
Oh, yes. Well, hello, everybody. It is 2 o'clock here in the UK and it is raining and the weather is very cold. So hopefully you have better weather where you are. I'm Mojan Modarresi. I've been in the industry for more than 25 years. The first degree that I did was, I was a pharmacist, back in 1998. I was graduated as a PharmD and then working in different, industry, pharmaceutical and then cosmetics. And then I got my PhD in cosmetic science. And after that, again, working in biopharma and cosmetic manufacturing in the UK. And now I'm managing director of Personal Care Regulatory. It is a consultancy company specialized in helping brands to place their product in the UK and EU and help them to grow internationally. So our job basically doing the safety assessment, making sure the product that you're placing on the market is safe. And of course, we want to make sure that we can help you to kind of grow and do all of the compliance when you, for example, you want to go to different countries in the world. We are a small team of, 10 people in our companies, and I would be happy to answer any of your questions in terms of the regulatory and safety of cosmetic products.
Reiner, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So good morning, everyone, and good afternoon, also wherever you're located. I'm in Germany. The weather is slightly better than in the UK. We had some rain, but most time it's gray. It's gray, but it's dry. So I went out with my dog this morning and I stayed dry. That's good. So I'm a microbiologist. I did study biology and then focusing on microbiology. I am working in the industry for more than 20 years now, but in cosmetics industry, it's only 18 years. Beforehand, I was working several years in the food industry, also as a microbiologist. I am right now, I think we talk about this, what I'm doing exactly more and more. But in principle, I'm helping either to make cosmetic products okay and stable for microbial burden. And on the other hand side, I'm trying to substantiate claims for any topic which has to do with microbiology. It can either be antimicrobial or can even be some kind of skin microbiome pro claims. So this is what I'm doing. I'm working in Henkel, which is a multinational company. We have something like 50,000 people working, and we're producing cosmetics, but also laundry detergents and adhesives. So yeah, and I'm really happy to to be part of this panel, and I'm looking forward to all the questions and discussions we will have.
Colleen, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Colleen Dadino. I work with the Society of Cosmetic Chemists. I am the manager of membership and chapter relations, and our goal is to further education. And we have 19 chapters in North America, but we do have a lot of international members.
Cassandra, last but not least.
Hi, my name is Cassandra Celestin. I go by the beauty chemist. I am a cosmetic chemist as well as a cosmetologist. I've been in the cosmetology field since I was probably 15 as a shampoo assistant, and I've been a cosmetic chemist for 17 plus years now. And I have my own business, a founder of Beauty Alchemy Group, which is a consulting company. We consult in hair care, skincare, and color cosmetic formulation. Currently, we're in the area of Washington, D.C., and I'm currently trying to open up another spot in Miami, Florida, where I am right now.
Okay, so my next question, and Colleen, I'm going to frame this question a little bit differently for you. So my question for most of the panel, with the exception of Colleen, is can you describe what an average day or week looks like? What do you do on a day-to-day in your career? And then for Colleen, since you're in a little bit of a different role working with the SEC. You're very aware of the different careers out there. So I'll just ask you a different question. So when we get to you, you can answer this question. And if you need me to remind you of the question, just let me know. But what are the types of science roles that you see within the SEC? So the different science roles in the cosmetics industry. Everyone thinks about cosmetic chemists. Well, we obviously have a regulatory toxicologist and a microbiologist on the stage with us today. So obviously there's a lot more to cosmetics than just cosmetic chemists. But there's a lot more other than that as well. So maybe you can open our eyes to that. But for the first question, what do you do on a day-to-day and week-to-week? Mojan, would you like to go first?
Oh, yes, sure. Well, that's a very good question for me because my day usually starts at 5:30 a.m. in the morning. And the reason for that is between 5:30 a.m. to 8 a.m. is a time that I am not being disturbed by any messages or emails. So that is the best time that I can actually, read and kind of, analyze what I should do. So I am the managing director. So basically, I kind of overlook a team of safety assessors and regulatory specialists. During the morning time, I usually, definitely look at all of the, SES note of, kind of, advice to make sure that if there is any new issues in the regulation that we have to bear in mind in terms of the product safety. In addition to that part of reading and absorbing all of the knowledge about the new area of safety for cosmetic science or new ingredient, most of my day is about kind of communicating with our clients. I can say about 40% of my time communicating with clients, kind of answering their inquiry about their products, including the safety. Sometimes we are being inspected by the authority because we are the responsible person for over about 1,500 brands and 1,500 products. So sometimes we kind of being asked or get an email from an authority in the EU or UK to kind of question about safety of a product or an issue about a product that we are looking after. At least 2 hours of my time every day is about working with my team in terms of we kind of discuss issues sometimes about the safety of products, because safety of a products, assessing a safety of a products is not like a checklist. So in many cases the safety assessor, when they look at the ingredients, there are issues that they would like to discuss with an another person to kind of, okay, how we are going to look at this ingredient, for example, safety in this product. Are we going to issue a specific caution or warning? So 2 hours usually talking about, with the team member about how they assess the product safety. We also do lots of compliance, including the label review. And at least another 2 hours I spend time with our regulatory expert, kind of, looking at the claims and making sure that the advice we give to the brand are the correct advice. In the UK, we have advertising standard agency that they are very, tough about the claims that they are not substantiated. And in the EU, we are under Irish authority. So we need to make sure that our brand that we are looking after them, they have the right claim. First, they have to be within the cosmetic definition. And if they have a claim, they have an appropriate substantiation for that. So that is another, my everyday job. And of course, as a manager of a company, I kind of have another hat. It's a small company, and another hat about, business development. And hopefully, if I get any time, I would love to write for our blog or LinkedIn. So, I have so many hats on, but the one that I really like is the daily discussion that I have with our safety assessor and regulatory advisor in our company to discuss brands and products.
Reiner, would you like to go next?
Yes. So a typical day is literally in the morning. I get results on my table from the latest investigations in the lab. So we have a lab in our group. We have 30 people, technicians, engineers, microbiologists, and normally what I'm starting with is to get the results of the daily business. And daily business is normally to check if raw materials or cosmetic products, which are supposed to be released to the market or they are released for production, are okay in terms of microbial load. So, we do the analysis in our lab. I get the results, I check them, and then we decide if we can release this stuff or not. That's normally something which happens very early in the morning because production has to go on, and they would like to fill the market and then also start the production with all the raw materials which are waiting for release. Then very typically, what I'm doing is scientific discussions, and this can either be, and as mentioned already before, on really long-term research projects, like topics I mentioned, the skin microbiome, can be any other research we are performing, that we have meetings with the R&D, with marketing, where we think about the potential claims, how we can do this, to decide which way to go, and then have later on another communication with the lab to find out how we can do the experiments. And then we do planning of the experiments. We do trying to find out what we need. Is the equipment what we have, is this sufficient? Do we rather need more equipment, or do we have to change the test scenario, so how we can do this? This is really all scientific discussions. On top of these decisions which we have, and which is mainly meetings, of course, I have also to write some reports, which is maybe the most, for me at least, the most boring stuff during the day. And then I also have meetings which are not really science related, but rather micro related. And this is very often with production, for example, that if they have a question on terms of in hygiene, in GMP, that we try to find out how they can do this. I might even visit the production plants to see what we have to change in terms of making this more hygienic, or whatever happened, what we can do. So I have actually a lot of connection with, lots of people in the company, production, marketing, and especially R&D. But also I am involved in discussions outside the company. So it can either be the we have I'm part in Cosmetics Europe. I'm part of different groups within Cosmetics Europe, which is the association which is representing the industry in Europe. I'm also part of the ICCR, which is the International Cosmetic, the Association of Cosmetic Regulators, where we're also discussing preservation on one hand side, or also now, quite recently, the skin microbiome. So there is lots of meetings, lots of calls, discussions. But beside of this, scientific and micro-related topics, since I have a team of several people, you also have to take care of them. So it's not only thinking about the stuff you have learned, but also think about the leadership you have to do for the team to keep the team going. And this is also something I always take time. At least I try to have an hour, to form the team, to find something which we can do to motivate, to lead the team, and not only to do the work.
Cassandra, would you like to go next?
Yeah, since my role is a little different because I have to wear many hats. There's only 2 people that work with me, my assistants. But basically what I do is I consult with either brands or individual startups that want to produce a cosmetic line, whether it be hair care, skin care, or color cosmetics. So I consult with them to provide them insight and expertise about the personal care industry and formulations, how we produce products, the scope of the work, the milestone. We provide reverse engineering, which is basically getting a benchmark and basically reverse engineering that product based on the ingredient listing and the attributes of the product, how it looks, how it smells. Because sometimes a lot of these products, they'll have ingredient listing and then it doesn't really match up to what the product looks like. And most of those products are usually smaller brands are just starting off and they're not labeling their products right. So that's a real challenge for us sometimes. But with the experience that I have, I've been able to kind of figure out a lot of products. And we also do product education, application, and testing. We help companies with scaling up and technology transfer to optimize for small and large batches. We also do salon testing. This is where my cosmetology experience comes in. A lot of times companies come to me to do salon testing, half head to compare the benchmark to their new product. A lot of times I've done this with hair care, especially hair color formulas, to compare the product and see how it works on the volunteer's hair. And I'll set that up and get the volunteers and the hair type, and then the client will come into the salon, and then we'll do all the evaluation based on their protocols and what they're looking for. And as far as going back into the lab, we also work on day to day, we work on figuring out the stability of the product. So every day I have to check stability because of the fact that there are many products going on. So we have to check the stability to make sure that all the products are working, they're not separating, and they are inspect as far as like the pH, viscosity, texture, the color, the appearance, and fragrance. We do this for the first batch. We'll put it in the stability overnight just to see if it's going to be okay, and then we check it on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, depending how far in we are into the formula. I also do in-house testing with hair. I'll source hair from vendors, human hair from vendors, also yak hair from vendors to test hair, the product on the hair. So if it's, for example, hairspray or hair conditioner or hair shampoo, whatever attributes that the client wants to have in their product, I want to make sure that the product delivers that on hair. So we do that on hair swatches as well. And then the other part is, of course, answering emails and client relations. And that's the bulk of what I do.
And now, Colleen, I had a slightly different question for you. Let me know if you need me to repeat it. But if you don't, do you want to chime in?
I will chime in. I think when most people think of cosmetic chemists, I think they think of my fellow panelists, which is true. Most of them are these brilliant geniuses that make this mascara that lasts forever, or the lipstick, and I really do appreciate it. But we do have a lot of student members. We have about 400 student members. Sometimes they're studying chemistry or biology. Sometimes they are actually going into a cosmetic chemistry program. Some of the schools in the United States, especially, and then there's some in international as well. They're starting to recognize the need for this, and they're starting to create them all around the world. So the students are very excited to get involved, and they get to meet the people and attend the meetings, and some of them, I've attended meetings at schools, and they did not realize the Society of Cosmetic Chemists were there, or even going into cosmetic chemists wasn't even an option for them. I think they just thought they would be possibly mixing paint or something like that. So they're very excited to get out there and to meet people. We have a lot of Suppliers Day. So I was attending a Suppliers Day in the Southwest chapter, which is mostly in the Dallas area, because Mary Kay is there. And I was speaking to the different people, setting up their booth, and they said, "Oh, I can't join the society because I'm not a cosmetic chemist. I'm in sales, but I do have a degree in biology or chemistry," or maybe they don't have a degree, but they do have the opportunity to join as an affiliate member. So they didn't realize that. So now we have a lot of affiliate members. We have the general members who have their degrees, and it's really great because they can all interact and learn from each other. We have people that go from making the glitter in the fancy eyeshadow to designing of boxes. We have FIT here in New York, and a lot of people think it's just clothing design. They design the boxes and sometimes the fancy bottles that perfume comes in. So we have a little bit of everybody in our society.
And just a reminder, I've already said this in the webinar chat text channel, but if you guys have any questions, please raise your hand or ask them in the webinar chat, and then I will ask them. I have a couple more questions, but I'll ask them towards the end. So my next question is, how did you get to where you are? And some of you have already told us about it, but were there specific education requirements to do what you're currently doing, from acting as a cosmetic chemist or working as a microbiologist or regulatory toxicologist? Were there specific steps that you had to take to get there? And then also, how did you eventually move up the career ladder? Mojan, would you like to go first?
Wow, very interesting questions. Especially in my case, it wasn't really a linear type of progression in my career path. I was graduated as a PharmD pharmacist in 1998, and the degree that I did, it was kind of prerequisite for being a safety assessor and doing kind of, assessment of ingredients. But to be honest, if I was just a graduate pharmacist, I wouldn't do that, because the addition of education that I did, the whole of experience in the quality control formulation, being a formulation scientist, and then doing a PhD in cosmetic science, and doing lots of kind of study on dermal absorption. I did work on nanoparticle and safety of nanoparticle. And then being a charter biologist in the Royal Society of Biology kind of led me into where I am. And the reason is because being a safety assessor, you need to be qualified. And it is not just a degree, but also the experience that it gives you the courage to kind of approve a product safety in addition of what you know. So product safety assessment in the EU and UK, it is not just a checklist of the tox and calculation of ingredients. It is also very good that the safety assessor understand the formulation, understand different type of requirement for a safe product, which is, a good preservation system, a good stability, GMP, and other criteria. So for me, it was a very up and down because, I didn't it wasn't my first job as a safety assessor, and then I kind of moved to where I am. I was a pharmacist. I worked as a formulation scientist. I worked as a IPQC, which is in process quality control in a pharmaceutical company. And then I immigrated to the UK. And in the UK, I had this opportunity to do a PhD in cosmetic science. So I did that one. I work in a contract manufacturer in the UK in cosmetic industry, and then moved to a biopharma, MedImmune, which was, part of AstraZeneca. And then start, this kind of working and helping the brands make sure their product is safe and they have a high quality products on the market. So it wasn't really okay, I wanted to become a safety assessor, so I would do this degree and then, follow the path up the ladder. It was really ups and downs. And I think what I can say, and it was kind of constant during the last 20 years, was attention to detail and passion about safety and quality that led me where I am at the moment. So perhaps these two passions helped me and was essential for the job that I am doing. Otherwise, I would say that my job is sitting by the computer sometimes 10 hours per day, but it passes so quickly that I don't feel that it's 10 hours. So the passion about what I do helped me to improve the job, come up with a new idea and new services for our clients. And the other thing that we have done during these years was having our own software for doing the safety assessment, which is the USP of the company. So I would say that it wasn't the first idea that I was doing a farm degree. I said, okay, let's do a safety assessment for cosmetic product. A series of positions and experience led me to where I am now.
Now, I'll ask this question to you, Mojen, and also this question, if all the panelists remaining, please answer this in your question as well. So if somebody is currently doing their undergrad, or maybe they're in high school and they're considering an undergrad, and they know that they want to do safety assessment or microbiology or become a cosmetic chemist or whatever else, but in your case, safety assessment, is there any specific education or maybe like minimum education that would be required? What would be the steps that one would have to take if they just wanted to go straight from no education to becoming a safety assessor?
Oh, yes. In the UK and in the EU, based on the regulation, you can only become a safety assessor if you are a pharmacist or you are a toxicologist. And we have a caveat in the regulation says any other diploma. But basically, the best degree that you can, do to become a safety assessor is a toxicologist or a pharmacist. And after that, you need to work in this area to be a safety assessor. So you can't just become a safety assessor after graduation. You have to understand how to create tox profile, understand a little bit about, the dynamic of a formulation of a product. So if you are interested in doing what I am doing, obviously toxicology or being a pharmacist is a route to this profession. But the other thing that I would like to emphasize, the necessity for the job that I am doing is enjoying attention to detail. So if you love attention to detail and really like to understand why the product or why the ingredients are considered as safe, perhaps that would be a career for you. So that part of curiosity, extreme attention to details are required for this job.
Reiner, would you like to go next?
Yes. I just would like to add to the Mojan also that, as a safety assessor, and you mentioned this already with preservation, you have to have some background in microbiology. And actually, there are courses which you can perform to become a safety assessor. At least in Europe, there's one in Brussels. We also perform one from the IKW and a national and international one, where we have a 2-day course on microbiology and where I'm responsible for. So I think this is to become a safety assessor is really, it's a huge step. So you have to learn so many things after your graduation, and therefore curiosity is really key. In my career, I mean, or as a microbiologist, this was maybe it was quite straightforward. I decided to become a microbiologist when I was in the 11th grade in high school, because I read something about microbiology, found it so fascinating. And then I decided, okay, I go for microbiology. So I studied biology, then focused on microbiology. And the university where I was working was really focused on biotechnology. And I thought this is really cool. So I did my diploma in biotechnology, and then I actually wanted to go for biotech. But then something happened, let's say in private life, and I decided, oh, no, I have to leave this city and have to go somewhere else. And at that point in time, this was a couple of years after Germany got reunited, and in the eastern part of Germany, it was still a kind of really interesting place to go. There were so many things happening. So I decided to go to this part of Germany to do my PhD. And all of a sudden, instead of doing biotech, I was doing something like food. So I was working in the Institute of Nutrition, and this was in gastrointestinal microbiology. So I learned lots of molecular things which came from the human. So I wanted to do something on microbes. I wanted to work with bacteria. I did work with bacteria, but I had to learn things which are going on the human body. And the good thing was that there were so many different. We had chemists, we had nutritionists, we had molecular biologists, and the microbiologist. So it was really interdisciplinary, and this really brought me forward in my professional career, because you see so many different angles from other scientists, and this really helped a lot. And then I became a gastrointestinal microbiologist and was working on the gut microbiome. So nothing to do with cosmetics, not at all. I was working for a food company, a Swiss one, a couple of years. And then my company where I'm working now, they had a research project, and starting in 2003, on trying to find out what's going on the skin with microbes. So really, really early in time, and they were looking for someone who could do this. And since I did everything already, all the technologies which I've learned in the gut system, I decided to go to Düsseldorf, so back to Germany. And again, this was more kind of a private decision, because my wife, she was still in Germany, and we decided, okay, after a couple of years of having a weekend relationship, let's go back and live together. So this was actually the driver of my career in terms of going back to Germany. So I did this, and again, there I had the chance to work with someone who was really keen and really interested in cosmetic microbiology, so especially in preservation and hygiene. And so, since my research topics were on cosmetics, I also learned all the other things which microbiology can do and has to and does in cosmetic or with cosmetic products. So again, by learning from someone different, I learned many more things. And when she retired, I took over the job, and now I'm what I am. I'm the responsible person, or let's say the person to contact for whatever micro question you have in cosmetics in our company. So, and this can be, as mentioned, can be preservation, can be hygiene, can be research on whatever. So this is something which leads my career. So really learning from others, and having decisions in private life to change the location. But changing location, I think, is also key in making your personality and your person just bigger and grow up in this. And I think by seeing life from different angles, this is something which will boost your career, because you're then able to grab all the things you have to do and not stick only to the focus area where I'm typically working in. So that's something. But to become someone like I am, you just need to study microbiology and to be open-minded and to be very curious and to be able to communicate with all the stakeholders you have. And because as a scientist, to discuss with marketing can be really hard, because they think in weeks and months, we think in years. But to realize that, and then to be able to somehow to translate this into your work, I think that's something which is really important, and then also allows you to do the steps which I have taken so far.
Now, Reiner, you have a PhD in microbiology. Is a PhD a requirement to become a microbiologist in the cosmetics industry, or would work experience suffice if somebody didn't want to go down that far into their educational career?
No, I don't think it's a requirement. It's helpful. It's and I think maybe it was in my time that the PhD was kind of a prerequisite to get this kind of position. But I think nowadays it's not really necessary. There's still most of the people where if I compare my job with others in different companies, most of them still have a PhD. And if you do research, I mean, that's what we do. So we do this daily business, and what we call, if I think about preservation and microbial burden tests and all these kind of things, you don't need a PhD. If you really would like to go deep into research, I think a PhD is not necessary, but really helpful, because when you do your PhD, you really work on a specific topic for a long, long time. And then you learn how research how research works, how to do science. I think this is really where you learn how to perform science in a proper way, and not just doing scientific stuff. That's the different thing. So scientific work is not doing research in science. That's a different thing. And I think therefore I would always recommend to do this, but it's not necessary to become a cosmetic microbiologist.
Cassandra, would you like to go next?
Yes. I started, I think by the time I was probably 15 that I wanted to become a cosmetic chemist. I was, like I mentioned earlier, I was working as a shampoo assistant in a hair salon. I had started doing hair very early, and my mentor and the owner of the salon where I worked in New York City, she had her own hair care line. And at the time, I didn't know that it was private label. I was very young and naive, and I was like, oh my gosh, she has her own hair care line. I want to be just like that, but I want to make it. I don't know where she's getting it from, but I want to make it. And so I started doing research, and then there was no Instagram or Twitter, so it wasn't easy to find with a hashtag or anything like that. So I had to do some real research, like library research, to figure out who makes hair products and skincare products. And when I figured it out, it was a cosmetic scientist, and I was like, oh, okay, I would have to study chemistry. And at the time in high school, I was New York has these high schools are designed for a specific type of industries, and I was in an art high school, so it wasn't really designed for science and math. So the art high school really helped me be creative as far as color and just ideas. And I knew I wanted to study chemistry, but I didn't really have the background for chemistry. So I applied to Howard University as a fine arts major. and I got in. And my goal was to change my major within a year to chemistry. And I did. I actually changed my major to chemistry. And it was it was a challenge at first because I didn't have many science classes from my art high school. So I had to get a tutor to help me, but I knew that I wanted to make products, personal care products. And that was the goal. And I kept my eyes on the goal. And I said, whatever I have to do, if I have to study 12 hours a day, get a tutor. And that's what I did. And I got a degree, a bachelor's in chemistry from Howard University, 4 years. And then after that, I immediately applied to the cosmetic science program with Fairleigh Dickinson in Teaneck, New Jersey. And I went to school there for 2 years and got the master's with the concentration in cosmetic science. Now, all along throughout that time, I had obtained my cosmetology license by the time I was like out of high school, and throughout college. I did courses here and there and finally obtained my cosmetology license. And from there, my entry level job was with a hair color manufacturer in Brooklyn, New York. And they trained me in a niche. And this niche is hair color is a niche within the cosmetic science industry because not a lot of people have the training for it. It's very small, it's a very small group. So they trained me, since they were a manufacturer there, they trained me on how to formulate hair color. And I worked there for a couple of years, and then I moved on to a bigger company and worked for the hair color group for another 3 or 4 years. And then I went on to another company that wanted actually a consultant, and that's how I started as a consultant with my consulting company. They wanted a consultant to help them reverse engineer their product because they had purchased their products from a private label company, and they wanted to have control of their formula. And sure enough, one of the companies that they purchased their product from was a product in Asia, in China, I think. And they were selling products that were labeled sulfate free. But after a year or two of fighting with that company to get the formula, we actually found out that it had sulfate in it. So at that point, they wanted control over all their formula, and they hired me to reverse engineer their entire hair care line, and then also start up a skincare line for them. And then after that, I went on to work for a pharmaceutical and personal care manufacturer in Florida. And they had me, I was a director there, and I worked there for about a year. And we worked on a lot of many different OTC products as well as ethnic hair care products. And then after that, I went back to consulting, and that's what I've been doing since then. And as far as education, like I said, you need a 4-year degree. It can be in chemistry or chemical engineering or biology, microbiology, the sciences, pharmaceutical. A lot of companies, I work with companies where they've hired people that were biologists and then they train them. So it all depends on where you are in your career and where they are as far as their startup company, or if they're established, or if they have the staff to train you, and if they want to train you as well. But you definitely have to have a 4-year science background. And I feel like now a lot of companies are, they really do want you to have a master's. And a lot of people now, like after they get their 4-year undergrad degree, they immediately get their master's. So that's the route I went. And as far as how I moved up the career ladder, I think networking is really how you move up the ladder. When I was in the program at Teaneck, the master's program at Teaneck, I wasn't working in the field, and all the students there, they were working for L'Oreal, Unilever, Procter & Gamble, And just being around them and, them know I didn't have a job and I was, didn't have an experience, they really, steered me in the right direction. And that's how I got my first job. So like becoming part of the Society for Cosmetic Chemists is a really, really good way to network and just really understand the industry and what everyone does. And it's a really good resource. So I think that's the best way to move up the career, move your career up the ladder, is to really network and put in the time and effort into what you're doing and really care about what you're doing. I've worked with a lot of people that just didn't really care about the personal care industry as much as I did. I just feel like I have a real passion for it. And if you don't have a passion for it, then it's going to be challenging because your formulas are not going to always work out. Sometimes you think, it'll take a month or two, and it takes more than that. It'll take 6 months to a year. And I don't, people have these big expectations, but this is science and it's not exact. And sometimes it's like, it's a challenge because you're always experimenting, and something you thought would work and you change a supplier for one ingredient and that's it. It doesn't work anymore. And then you have to figure out what went wrong. So you really have to be patient as well and understand how to work with people and how to work with your formulas as well. Always don't be afraid to ask people questions that work with you. I've always been inquisitive and I've always asked questions, even to this day, like people that are my peers or just even people that have less experience than me, because they might have a better solution or better way of doing something that I'm not, privy to at the moment. So especially now in this age where technology is going so fast. So I think that's the best way to be in the industry and move up the career ladder.
Now, Colleen, as someone with the SEC, perhaps you have some perspectives on this from that angle. And then also, I think that you're probably quite aware of the different universities or educational paths cosmetic chemists or cosmetic scientists could choose to go down to get to the end role as a cosmetic scientist.
Right. We do have a lot of students reaching out to us. They may be juniors or seniors in high school. Maybe they're just starting out in college and they want to know what they need to do to get started. And obviously, if they can get to a school that has a cosmetic chemistry program, I know we have a few in the United States, and then we have the Institution of Personal Care Science, and that's worldwide. We have a lot of students from there getting their information there. But if they have a school and they're somewhere where they don't have an education program for cosmetic chemistry, I encourage them. I was speaking to scientists and our members, and they encourage chemistry, and they also ask them if they do at least 1 year of biology, because they need to know how the skin would react to the cosmetic. So, I mean, you could have all the formula you want, but if it's not going to react the right way, they tell them to get at least a little bit of a handle on biology to continue with that way. But we have members that they started out doing marketing. They have degrees in marketing or law, and they wind up going into chemistry because they just love it so much. They might start at a company and they realize that's something interesting. That's something I'd really want to do. And they kind of make the transition. We even have a scientist, he's, I won't use his name, but he has a degree in physics. And he was looking for a job, and he found cosmetic chemistry, and he's great with his perfumes. And now he's like a master of his trade, and he's very sought after. So sometimes it's not the most clear-cut path in the beginning, and then you just find your passion.
Okay, so my final question before I start asking some of the questions coming in from the audience. I see one question from Function of Skin has come in already in the webinar chat. If you guys in the audience have questions, put it in the webinar chat or raise your hand and I can bring you to the stage. So my final question is, for someone aspiring to have a similar career as you, do you have any recommendations for them? And Mujin, would you like to go first again?
Hi. Well, my recommendation is I think what make my job interesting, if you have interest in toxicology and especially chemistry. So interest in biology and chemistry is a must-have for the job that I am doing. And the other thing is you should enjoy kind of, having this attention to details. Otherwise, it would be very difficult for you to do the job for hours and hours. So enjoying attention to details and enjoying chemistry and biology are two important factors, kind of, definitely must have for this job. The other thing that I want to basically confirm what Colin said is joining an association. For example, I remember when I did my PhD in cosmetic science, I was not really aware what are the jobs in this industry. I really loved the topic that I did, but I was the first PhD student in the university that I did my PhD. So I did my PhD at London College of Fashion. I know it is London College of Fashion, but we have a very well-known, cosmetic course over there, cosmetic science course, BSc and MSc over there. And I was their first PhD. And of course, most of my PhD was done at King's College Pharmaceutical. So I wasn't really aware of different careers path in the industry. And joining Society of Cosmetic Scientists in the UK really helped me to understand the different roles that I can use my skill and knowing the industry. And to be honest, I think it is fair to say that cosmetic industry in most of the countries, they are a very small industry, and most of the people, they know each other after a while. So knowing the other people, kind of liaising, networking are very important. And I do recommend joining the association. There are different associations everywhere, Society of Cosmetic Scientists in every country and every region, that I highly recommend any graduate to join them to kind of expand their knowledge about, what are the criteria, what are the different roles, and network, which is, can open the important new doors for them.
Reiner,
I hope I am.
Oh, yes, you did. That was perfect.
That's okay.
Thank you. Reiner, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. So my recommendation, I mean, there's several. First of all, you need to love what you do. It's not only to study biology because they think it's nice, or it's just a la mode, because now, unfortunately, due to the COVID crisis, we think we need more microbiologists. This is true, but on the other hand, you really need to love what you're doing, and you need to stay always very curious about what's going on in the field. Really to really stay on the state of the art in microbiology, because this is really needed, also to make sure that you can also work together with all the other disciplines which we connect. And this is possibly the most important thing is, and it's also been said, that you need to network, you need to communicate, and you need to make sure that you understand what your counterpart is talking about. It's not only to listen to them, but really to understand what they're talking about, what their problem is, to find out what will be the solution which you might have to give, or where we can add the benefit for the solution. Just as an example, if I, as a microbiologist, I would always go into production and say, you really need to make sure that you're working hygienic. And yes, that is really true, and it's really important. But on the other hand side, if the engineers, the mechanics explain how the process is running and how the people are working and how everything is done, then really to take all of these information and then to make to think about, okay, what is the best solution so that we can make sure that it's still hygienic, but still the process is going, because otherwise you won't be happy in your job. And last but not least, you have to have fun in your job. If you don't have fun in your job, that's a horrible life. So be curious, be open-minded, be able to network, be able to listen, be able to understand, and be able to have fun. If you stay this, and then on top of course, if you have some microbiological background, that's very helpful. I think then you're done. You can do the job.
Cassandra, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I think I kind of jumped the gun on some of this already, but yeah, I definitely agree with Reiner. You definitely have to have passion for what you're doing to really stay in the industry, because it can be tough sometimes. I think you have to surround yourself with a group of people within your field that can help you as well with support. I know I have a lot of chemist friends that, they do different parts, product development, microbiology, QA, QC. And, sometimes I, chat with them about certain things, and that really helps because I get a different perspective. I also have friends that are in the textile industry. So I always tell people that, sometimes you have to go outside your industry if you want to really create something innovative as well. And that's what I do. I do a lot of research outside my industry, whether it be biology or biology or biotech or textiles. And I read a lot of patents as well to understand how people are formulating their products and different ideas on what they're using, not to infringe on their patent, but just to get my mind thinking differently outside of the box. And I network a lot. Like I said earlier, I network a lot with people, and I always have an optimistic view on something, on experiments and just work. I never tell people that it can't be done. It's just sometimes, we don't have the technology or the time, because a lot of time, these brands want something yesterday. And it's like, okay, I can get this done for you, but it's going to take a couple of years. And they're like, no, we need to get it done like tomorrow. So that's another thing too. So you have to have a lot of patience as well. So I would definitely recommend getting that 4-year degree and getting a master's, and just really networking and getting to know people in different facets of the cosmetic personal care industry. And I know people who are cosmetic chemists that they went to, instead of cosmetic chemistry, they're doing product development instead, and they prefer that. So if you start networking with those people, you might find out earlier on in your career that maybe it's not being at the bench formulating and just maybe developing the whole product line and the concept and the brand is really what you're passionate about. So explore all those options, and make sure that you really, really enjoy yourself working every day, because working in the lab can be very um, uh, very stifling sometimes. Sometimes you have to, like I've gone outside in the cold sometimes just to get away from the lab, because most of the time they don't have windows and it's dark, and you're like, okay, I need to see some type of sunlight. I don't care if it's cold outside, I just need to go outside, I need a breather. So you really have to have the love and passion and the patience for it.
And I suppose, speaking of other cosmetic science related careers, other than just being a cosmetic chemist, I should have had someone in this role on this panel. In our last careers day, I did Jenny Thomas from P&G. There's a lot of science communication roles too, which is maybe another interesting angle that you can take your education and still work in sciences in the cosmetics industry. And if you want more, check out our last panel. It's up on our YouTube channel and on our blog. And then last but not least, Colleen, would you like to chime in?
Yes, I am not a cosmetic chemist, but I do work about 5,200 of them. I definitely concur with what everybody said. You need to love your job. And there's There's so many scientists that I deal with, and they are just wonderful, wonderful people, and they are so brilliant, and they network at these different events, and I've seen friendships 20, 30, 40 years long working at different events. They only see each other twice a year, but it's always great to have a friend working for a different company. And maybe you say, I'm happy where I am. Maybe somewhere down the line they're looking for somebody or you're looking for something. It's always great to have connections. I've seen, and I know it's not Tinder, but I've seen quite a few marriages within the society and the group. And we have a few members. I feel that the scientists actually love their jobs so much. They never really retire. I've seen them say, okay, I am retiring from XYZ company. And a month later, okay, now I am back consulting with my company and I am teaching at the University of Cincinnati. So they just love what they do and they continue and they mentor some of our younger members, which is absolutely amazing because they need that connection. They need to share that knowledge. So a lot of people, I've heard the quote attending another meeting, it's learn, so you learn everything you possibly can, and then you earn, you make your way up the chain, and you do a great job, and then you return everything you know, and you share it with a younger, maybe an upcoming cosmetic chemist or a student. It's everybody that makes everything, I hate to say make everything go round, but it takes a whole village to make something great. And I think cosmetic chemists, they think it's just makeup, but it covers so much more, and there's so much knowledge to share. And I think this is a great a great way to share it.
Now, getting to some of our audience questions. The first question that came in was from Function of Skin, who asks, what are some ways someone with a degree already, such as chemical engineering or chemistry, can enter the cosmetics industry without getting a master's? Also, what are some ways to network with people in the industry? So perhaps the first question will be to Mojan, Reiner, and Cassandra, if you guys want to answer it. And then the second question, Colleen, this was directed to you, is how does someone join the SEC? So for the first question, Mojan, I see your mic is turned off. Do you want to chime in?
Oh, yes. Many people that they are working in our industry, they don't have a master degree. Especially chemical engineering, they are a must-have kind of, a specialty during the manufacturing process. So you need to kind of look into jobs in manufacturer. It is, you have a specialty and degree that they definitely need your expertise. The other area that we can actually look into is basically ingredient supplier. So, having ingredients and kind of, coming up with new ingredients. And in terms of the regulation for REACH regulation, you need to have a very good knowledge in, chemistry. So perhaps these are the areas that we can actually, look into, hopefully by kind of going to that area and enhancing your knowledge with extra courses like REACH courses. Perhaps it would be the way forward instead of doing a master degree or a PhD.
Reiner and Colleen, I don't know if you have anything, or sorry, Cassandra, I don't know if you guys have anything to add there.
Yeah, maybe just short adding. So for example, we and also other companies, we do have internship programs. So we in our group, if it's not COVID crisis, we have always 4 to 5 students working in our group, either doing an internship or performing their master or bachelor thesis. So there are many companies offering these kind of possibilities during your study to enter the company, and I think that's really important. Everyone should do this. So whenever there's a possibility to work in industry during their study, it's always really helpful to understand how industry is thinking, how the work is going on, and then how to think about how your study will be changed, or how you might change your way of studying, and maybe the the focus area you're going to. So yeah, an advice is always checking out all the companies for internship possibilities. And we have now, I think, 3 people in our team which did their internship in our group, and they are now employees in our group, and there are more in our company who did this.
And I guess, Cassandra, if you don't have anything to add there, Colleen, do you want to chime in on how does one join the SCC?
Sure. We have a website, scconline.org. And if you have any questions, you can email me, cdadino@scconline.org, or connect with me on LinkedIn.
In this next question is from Thris SS, or Leanne, sorry. Hopefully I said that right. What is the one thing in the cosmetics industry that you don't like or wish could be improved, changed? A little on an aside from our careers talk, but I am interested in your perspectives. And then a reminder, this was the last question that has been submitted for the panelists. Other than they also ask if you guys wouldn't mind sharing your LinkedIn profiles on the webinar chat text channel. And also, if you guys have questions after this conversation, ask them in the webinar chat, and a few of us will still be frequenting the chat to answer your questions. Okay, so Mojen, would you like to go first for this question?
Oh, yes. Well, very interesting question. I can actually answer this question from 2 perspectives. First, about the science. As you are aware, in the EU and UK, testing animal and ingredient that they are going to be used in cosmetic science, in cosmetic products, are not allowed, to be tested on animals. And we have a kind of a gap in knowledge for chronic toxicity of many ingredients, many innovative ingredients in our industry at the moment. That it would be great to see more of innovative approach to kind of fill this gap. Like at the moment there are lots going on at the European level for cross-read kind of tox data and kind of filling this gap of knowledge about chronic toxicity of ingredients, which is great, but I would love to see more of this type of research in my area. On the another perspective, we deal with so many brand owners, small indie brand owners and SME brands. One of the things that I would love to see the change, especially for a small brand owner, is to kind of they look at the regulation and compliance with a different approach. In most cases, especially for a smaller brand, they look at it as a check marks. Okay, I want to put the product tomorrow under, start my LinkedIn, or I start, I don't know, my website is going to go live. So we haven't done the safety assessment yet. So I would like that this type of approach to be changed. And I would like to kind of, we as an industry, make sure that we look at the safety assessment as a necessity and as the initial steps of kind of starting a brand. We make sure that we value quality of the safety assessment that we receive. Most of the time, brand owners are entrepreneurs. They may not have the ability to kind of read the very complex toxicological report, which is the CPSR. So we would love to see that more of them engage with the report, understand the importance of the high quality CPSR on the market. And to be honest, I think it would be great that we kind of be more cautious about the claims that we have on the label. As the responsible person for many brands, we make sure that we have this kind of discussion for every single brand and products to make sure that the claims that they have on the label to be substantiated properly. But as my colleague said here, we don't deal with the marketing department, but we deal with many brands that they want to push their claims And pushing the claims without having the substantiation probably is one of the biggest challenge that we have at the moment. So kind of making sure that we are more honest about the claims that we have on our products and valuing a high quality safety assessment would be, would be lovely to see the improvement in these two areas on the market.
Reiner, would
That
you
is
like
my two wishes. That's my only wishes.
Yeah. Let me jump on this claim thing, which there are two things actually where I would like to see some improvements, and maybe Jen, you'd love the first thing is I'm really not at all a fan of any free from claim. So seriously, I would love to see products coming on the market saying what they can do and not what they don't have inside. This is, from my point of view, not at all any helpful, and especially for me as working and trying to make products stable in terms of micro and preservation. We have seen so many free from preservative claims, which is horrible and really making our life really, really hard to get the stability which is needed still in the product. So that's one of my wishes, that these kind of claims would disappear sooner or later. That's one thing. The second thing is we are still a quite small industry, and quite often when we have discussion with stakeholders from outside, we do act quite often reactive and not really proactive. And I would love that we are a bit more, so to say, bit more brave as an industry to step out and say, okay, this is something we have. This is a safe ingredient. This is a safe product. We do not, just because there's some kind of people saying, I take this aluminium in deodorants or whatever, that we have to formulate this out. So, but rather being proactive and saying, okay, these are the data, the scientific data we have, and showing that, the safety of these ingredients, of this product or whatever, and then say, okay, we do not have to do this. This is something, we will still keep in our products because they are safe. So these are the two things where I see room for improvement in our industry, and I'm still, I have a couple of years to work in this field. I will also fight for this.
Well, I agree with that. Yeah, it seems like a vicious cycle of like the tail wagging the dog, consumer misinformation leading the industry, but pretty soon we're going to end up with like nothing because it's just this vicious cycle of free from claims. I totally agree with you that brands need to stand up to, or scientists, the cosmetic science sector needs to stand up to the misinformation with information. But that's, gosh, I could continue talking for the remainder of this conversation, but I won't. I'll stop right there. Cassandra, would you like to chime in?
Yeah, for me, very often I get calls from potential clients who really don't have any chemistry background. They took a online formulator cloud course or something, and they're expanding on social media, on Instagram, TikTok. They're selling their products. However, they didn't know anything about stability, quality control, microbiology, and that's very scary. So I feel like the industry needs to have stricter rules or regulations on the home base formulators, just because a lot of people are buying products and they're not safe. They don't know if they're safe and they're mislabeled. And of course, the FDA doesn't have time to knock on every body's door that's making a product at home. They just request that you have good manufacturing practices, and label your product correctly, but that's not even happening. So I think we need to put a microscope over that and kind of really magnify that and see how we can make sure that the industry is safe before these people put out these products.
Colleen, do you have anything to add?
I totally agree. I know some people, if you go to, like you said, the websites and the blogs, and sometimes they're just throwing things together. So I think there needs to be a little bit more oversight on that.
We had a question from Oksana. I hope I said your name right. Similar to the previous question asked right at the start of the Q&A period. How can someone with a PhD in chemistry, for example, enter the cosmetics industry? What are the positions to look for? Any advice is welcome. Anyone want to chime in here?
Okay, let me go ahead with that. Oksana, I think one of the most important thing is you have to see what is your PhD is about, what is the area of chemistry you have looked into that, and what area in the industry it has synergy with the research that you have done. So that would be a very good starting point. For example, if you have worked on organic chemistry or green chemistry, perhaps looking at the similar research in ingredient provider would be a great job. So looking into your topic of the research would be a very good starting point, and see what part of our industry have synergy with your research in your PhD. For me, it was a big challenge, to be honest. I remember that my first job after the PhD was in a very small contract manufacturer in London, and I used to do the regulation, I used to do formulation, and I was doing R&D as well. So sometimes you may not have the chance to start from a very big, corporate company, but that a smaller type of, players in the industry, they will give you the opportunity to kind of try different, area and different specialties. So definitely look into what are the, the synergies between your research and the, different activities in our industries.
And I'm just going to cut to our final question here. This will be the last question I ask, but also if you guys have questions after this, then feel free to put it in the webinar chat, and a few of us will still be frequenting there to answer your questions. We will have a half-hour break between this panel and the next panel, so I figured that would give you guys some time to, firstly, if you have to like go to the bathroom or something, but also if you have questions and want to talk to the panelists a bit more before the next panel, then now's your chance. So the final question was from Connor. Is this you? I believe it is. CW, what are some things you all hope for your careers going forward? Do you hope to keep doing what you're currently doing now, or what direction would you like to go in next? Really curious in all of your questions or all of your answers. Cassandra, do you want to maybe start this one?
Yes. Currently right now I am opening up another location in Florida, and I am also applying to a doctorate program in science for trichology, specializing in trichology.
That's exciting.
So with that, I can also do on top of doing the salon testing and evaluations, I'm also going to do like clinical trials and research for scalp and hair.
Reiner, would you like to go next?
Yes, sure. Well, I think I would still love to do later on what I'm doing right now. I think 2 years ago, someone was asking, what are your next wishes in your career? And I said, okay, within my company, there are not so many things I can do from now on, but I would love to become a globally well-known, or let's say globally recognized expert in cosmetic microbiology. So not only being someone who's known in Germany, but rather really all over the world. And that's something where I'm working on. That's maybe the reason why I'm here today also, Jen. But no, but seriously, this is really something I wanted to, that looking back later on, that I can say, okay, I had an impact, not only on what I've done for the company, but really on the total industry we are working in. And that's something what I'm still working on. And that's why I try to keep my network and then to enlarge my network more and more. So that's something I would like to see. And the other thing I would like to see is to get rid of Annex 5 of the cosmetic regulation in Europe. But that's something I will work out also on the next 15 years.
Well, Reiner, I'd say that you're off to a great start. Colleen, Colleen, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I actually love what I do. I get out there and I meet some people, some brilliant minds behind the cosmetic industry, and get into the trade shows, network and see people and get some ideas and share knowledge and introduce people. I think that it's great. And I think we have a great future. So many new things out there, and I'm try them all.
And Oksana, I think this was you that asked this in the chat, if there were places to find different careers in the cosmetics industry. And Colleen answered this. I'm just going to say it here just in case whoever is listening to this recording doesn't see this in the webinar chat. The SEC has a careers database. So if you want to look for careers in North America, you can find specific ones to the cosmetics industry on their database through the SEC portal. If you have questions later, just maybe send an email to Colleen, and I'm sure she would be happy to help you out there. And then last but not least, Mojana, would you like to chime in?
Well, I can actually divide this question into two wishes. First, personally, I would like to kind of enhance my knowledge for the business part. So I kind of booked my name for managing course with Oxford Business School. So next year I'm going back to uni for for a course in terms of the business acumen, so I can actually learn more. In terms of our company, at the moment, we have an office in the UK in Cambridge and in the EU in Ireland, Dublin. And the plan is hopefully we can have an office in North America. So that is one of the ambitions that we have for 2022. The other thing is we are actually working on a specific type of, programming and software to enhance transparency in the supply chain, because we believe quality of ingredients and basically manufacturing practice, it really can have a big impact in product safety. So we would love to kind of have a new service for the transparency, and the products that they are going to be on the market, they can actually measure really and kind of try to prove to people that actually what they say is correct. I saw a question, for example, about all natural. You can't just say all natural and you have 99% of water in your formula. So all of those claims and issues, they kind of, go back to transparency issue in the industry that we would love to play a very good role in this area. So hopefully, let's see, looking forward to 2022.
Well, thank you to all of our panelists for agreeing to join in the first the first panel of the day for Careers Ed Day. This is the second time we've done this. If you guys have further questions, head on over to the webinar chat and you can ask those questions there. Thank you to our audience for joining in for this first panel. Check back in a half an hour, and then we'll have another conversation about marketing and print. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day if I don't see you in the next panel. And thank you again to our panelists for agreeing to donate your expertise and time to this event.
Well, thank you, Jen, for having us.